Hey everyone, Khrytos here, and today I am joined by chunx,
Hey there, everyone. How you doing?
and we are going to be discussing the ROBA Online Tournament beta for Wardens of the White Forest. We are going to be discussing the two games from the winners semi-final, and I will post links in the description with timestamps for where each section we discuss about. If you're interested in this type of content, please let us know, and we'll see what we can do in the future. And if you don't like it or you have feedback, please let us know as well. All right, let's jump into it. We have the first game from the winners semi-final to discuss, and that's xSkeletalx versus IMABUNNeh. And unfortunately, we didn't get this game recorded, so I've only got the draft of this game for us to discuss today, but it's still worth having a look at. So let's just quickly take a look. So xSkeletalx was first pick in this game, and he picked up Octavian. This is not a common first pick from most games that we see, but we happen to know that xSkeletalx is a big Octavian fan. Uh, One after my heart. I'm also a big Octavian fan, and he's just like a first pick for xSkeletalx, so I can definitely get behind that.
Yeah, great character. One of the best decks in the game, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. 10,000 drills, just the best card. So
Yeah,
can't complain about this pick, to be honest. Just not common, but I don't dislike it as first pick. Making sure you get what you want. And then from IMABUNNeh, we see him pick up Aurelia. Aurelia is one of the new champions from the Haunting of Dunkirk expansion. She is in the support class and is the support for the set. Her ability lets her gain 1 power after your next draw phase begins, and then when you level her up, she can give divine heroes you control 1 plus attack or 3 on the turn they manifest, and then she can just use a cooldown talent to gain 1 power. Cooldown talents are talents that can be used once per turn. Now for Aurelia's Clash card, she has a heal. She has Rebuke, which allows her to cancel face up non-ultimate Clash cards. Really strong card here. Devotion, which works really good with deities, becoming a 3/3 if clashed on a hero that is divine. And Living Vessel, which is a really strong ultimate that allows her to manifest the second deity, sacrificing the caster that used it. So yeah, Aurelia, one of the new characters, definitely seen a lot of play in this tournament and the previous tournament. Works well with the kind of big deity builds like Wrathlord or Grandfather, and definitely not one we saw first picked a lot in the previous tournament as well.
yeah. It's one of the very few ways that lets you gain power outside of your evoker triggers every turn. I guess Gander kind of lets you do that, but it's a little bit gambly in that you need to draw the card, whereas Aurelia can get you an extra power every turn if you want it, which is very strong.
Yeah, much more consistent, right? I've been on the receiving end of the scanner not drawing his power gain cards. So.
Yep, me too.
And then we hit into the ban phase even, and nothing really surprising here. We see a Corvus ban from xSkeletalx. Corvus definitely one of the long-time favorite ban characters, definitely one of the strongest in the game. Mainly for his ability and his talent cards and his XP, so everything right there. And then IMABUNNeh coming in with the Vigor ban, also considered one of the very best warriors, and has seen a lot of both play and bans, mainly around his ability to get to 5 damage off any warrior item, attack item. So it means he can solo
Yeah.
towers.
Yeah, he's very strong. I mean, I think that's usually why he's often a first pick, just because he is a very proactive character, and you can build your team around him. I mean, usually with an Octavian, I would like to see the Vigo first, but as we said, Octavian's a great character.
Yeah. And then from IMABUNNeh as second player gets the second pick, picks up Alan. This is another hero from our second expansion. Alan is the warrior from the Haunting of Dunkirk. He's got the 306 stat line, but with a huge 7 power to upgrade. However, on his card, he gets to reduce that cost based on how much for every hero that is damaged in play. And this is kind of the theme of Alan. He's all about blood and having damage on the heroes, his enemies, and generally heroes. He also has the ability to heal if he does damage to heroes, so he heals 2 health every time he damages a hero via combat. And then when he levels up, he has the ability to scale uh, extremely high, where every card clashed by Alan has +1 attack for each damaged hero in play. So anywhere in the board, if your opponent has 2 damaged hero, each clash card Alan has gets +2 attack. And for his clashes, he has Execution, which just gets stronger the more damage the hero is. Cold Blood, which allows him to negate any kind of attack reduction. So things like Terrorize won't work on him, or when he's defending, he doesn't have to reduce his attack when he plays this card, or if he's tapped. Test of Arms is a strong talent ability that allows him to force an opponent to attack into the caster, and neither one will die because all damage done in this combat is stun damage, but it's a really great way to force someone to commit and to create a lot of damage on the board on both the caster and the the opponent that had to attack. And then Red Harvest is a talent ability for his ultimate, which basically allows the caster to do 3 consecutive solo attacks against enemy heroes at this location. So he can adjust attack 3 times in one single turn, costing him 2 actions, and it's extremely strong. Yeah, so Alan, a nice scary warrior here, definitely has the possibility to scale into the late game. With the power support from Aurelia, you could see some pretty scary items on this build. And then obviously Aurelia's heal and protection could help Alan get through some of the scary turns. Not a normal pairing though, to be honest. We haven't seen this much before, but I can see some benefits of it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Alan is one of those characters for me that I really dislike playing personally, but when I'm playing against him, I always feel like he's very strong. It's just that I'm not too good at maneuvering him, let's say.
Yeah. He's definitely one of them characters I feel that has he's either got some like consistency problems or very like high skill cap. So it's playing around his consistency problems is definitely quite difficult and hard to navigate. I'm personally a big fan of him, but yeah, it just can be a little frustrating to play sometimes. And then from xSkeletalx, we see his next 2 picks. He picks up Bran for his support and Grandfather. Grandfather is the tank from the Wardens of White Forest expansion, so the third expansion. Um, Grandfather is a giant tree, super important because he has the text that he cannot move or be moved. And while he is ready, your conduits have +1 armor, meaning your opponent needs to do at least 6 damage to destroy it in one attack. And if they have to do that over multiple attacks, um, they could require even more damage. And he has a huge XP cost to level up as well at 8. And when he does level up, though, he becomes extremely strong, gaining 2 attack and 1 health. And when he levels up, he recovers all heroes you control, and they heal free. And then every time he enters combat as the defender, he gets to heal 1 on all heroes he controls as well. He also gains the stat line, the keyword evoker, so he kind of becomes a pseudo support there as well. For his clash cards, we see he has the standard tank 2/2 blank card. He has lifelink, which allows him to split the damage a hero would take in half and apply it to a second hero at any location. Tranquility will allow him to prevent heroes from clashing additional cards outside of the first one. And Force of Nature, which is his ultimate, when played in a clash, will commit all enemy heroes. Very strong and can create a big tempo swing. Grandfather, the big boy of the set, the biggest boy, in fact. Armor Giant
Yep.
Tree.
Oh, everyone loves a giant tree. 8 costs a level. Insane.
Yeah. But bring in some of the, like, literally the best tank stats we've seen so far in the game. You know, the 3 attack, 1 armor, 8 health, only comparable to Ichiro with 3 attack, 0, 9 health. But, you know, Grandfather has text, even though some of his text is
Yep.
he can't move, because, you know, he's a tree. So
Yeah, it's only fair.
definitely cool to see him picked up so late. Like every game up until now, I think we see him like picked up early or banned early. So the guys kind of left him open, and then yeah, it was kind of I guess baiting to see who goes for him.
Yeah, I do kind of wonder if xSkeletal was scared of facing Grandfather himself at that point. That could have paired quite well with Aurelia. So maybe he picked up the Grandfather to avoid that. But as you say, it's interesting because this whole tournament has been very much about Grandfather so far. Um, so yeah, very interesting to see him picked so late.
Yeah, definitely. And now like it kind of puts Bunny in an interesting spot, right? Where he's like looking at his build, and he's got Aurelia now with like her 2 attack and Alan with the 3. You know, so getting to the 5+1 for, you know, Grandfather bringing conduit armor. It's like he's got to be thinking about trying to pick up another 3 damage hero here.
Yeah, for sure.
And we actually see he does do this. He picks up Eos as his second support, with the 3 attack. You know, when I'm in game and I see this kind of pick pattern, it kind of instantly rings bells for a Rathlord. Obviously, I've seen the full draft, so I know that that's coming. But it's kind of that big tell in the draft when they go double support. It's like pretty
Yeah, for sure.
likely for a Rathlord build.
Yeah, I mean, using 2 supports, it kind of has diminishing returns a lot of time because you only get one evoker trigger. Usually, I mean, EOS is a bit of an exception to this, but your deck can often be a bit clunky as you've got lots of 1 attack, 2 armor cards or 2 attack, 1 armor cards. Um, Although, ironically, those actually work quite well with Wrathlord, who gets very powerful via his own conduits breaking. And he often doesn't need quite as high clash values as some of the other characters.
Yeah, definitely. And then on the deity side, we see xSkeletalx went with Final Judge, and as we discussed, Bunny actually picked up Rathlord, and he decided to banish Eos, which is not unsurprising, right? Like you said, you already got 1 Evoker, so you don't need a second one, and yeah, you can just whack Rathlord down there instead. Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, go.
no, I was just going to say that I think at that point the benefit of EOS is really his deck of cards as well, in that he's got 3 attack and 3 armor cards, rather than the smaller numbers that the other evokers generally have. And you're not really too worried about running him for that 3 attack on his base side. And when you compare that to Aurelia, who can potentially get you an extra power every turn, I think that's quite a reasonable choice there.
Yeah, and Rathlord's bringing the 3 attack as well, so you're kind of just
Exactly.
trading up stats there. So it's definitely good. What's interesting is that this is not a common Rathlord build we see like quite often. So 2 supports in Rathlord is definitely common, you know, and it's had a lot of success recently. But usually it's paired with a tank in the 3rd slot, you know, and Rathlord becomes the carry. And but in this one, you know, you've got both Alan and Rathlord as potential carries, so it could be fairly aggressive out the door, or Rathlord, you know, I'm a bunny wants to run Rathlord more defensive.
So if I'm picking a Rathlord team, I will generally aim for someone like Aurelia, who has Devotion, which is effectively a 3/3 card, which is very strong, alongside the power gain that she provides. Or the alternative option is Corvus, who, as we discussed a second ago, is incredibly strong. With him sitting on the board, he can deal an extra pierce damage on the first time each turn. So that compared with Eos's Starfall, for example, which does 2 damage, um, you also get 1 from Corvus as well.
Yeah, and it allows you to like snipe people on the and actually get kills on from talent abilities, which is very strong, right? It's why Corvus is really good. Any time you can kill a character without going into combat, it's just ensures that kill is getting through. It's guaranteed.
Yeah,
It's
very
definitely
good.
super strong. And with Starforce particularly, you can get that kill anywhere, right? Whereas like Drain Life on Corvus, which is the talent ability that lets you like deal 2 damage and heal 2 damage, but you have to be at the location. Whereas Starfall, you're like, hey, I'm gonna move to any location, I'm gonna do 2 damage to you. Corvus is gonna ping you for 1, and you're gonna die.
Yeah. And considering Corvus is already strong, adding cards into the deck that makes Corvus even stronger is always really nice.
Yeah. And then on xSkeletalx side, we see the final judge, which is actually kind of interesting in this build because quite often we see final judge paired in more aggressive decks. Judge has like a kind of high impact manifest ability, but then it's kind of like pretty mediocre after that. He has like the lowest stats of all of the deities, especially with his 2 attacks. So he can run out of steam very quickly, right? And then you see him paired in this deck with xSkeletalx taking 2 tanks and a support, which is basically a very slow deck. A lot of heals, a lot of armor cards, good defense. He's going to be pretty unkillable, but it's definitely going to be slow. So curious how he used the final judge in this build. One thing I do
Yeah,
have
I
to
would
say,
agree with that.
yeah, on the build itself, like looking at how xSkeletalx wants to close out the game, it's definitely going to be relying on flipping grandfather and just stomping face. But getting there is going to be a bit of a challenge, right? Like he's got a lot of power to gain and not so many ways to generate it. So I could imagine
Yeah,
that
for
was
sure.
quite a mountain climb.
Yeah, I'm also kind of curious as to who he ended up banishing when he brought the judge into play. Because with grandfather being leveled, which is ideally the goal, I mean, I'm not too sure if he got there with the 8 cost to level him. But Bran has Nature's Wrath, which is a very strong card with 1 deity in play. In this case, he could have had 2 deities in play with the leveled grandfather and the judge. So I do wonder if he ended up getting rid of Bran while still having those powerful cards in his deck, or if he chose to keep him around for the heal.
Yeah, I mean, because grandfather has the heal, I would feel like he would keep Octavian there. Octavian's going to be able to protect Final Judge, which definitely can be needed sometimes,
Mm.
especially against this aggressive deck. And then, like you said, with cards like Nature's Wrath, just like allow Grandfather to just end the game possibly, especially on Wrath Lord.
Yeah, very strong.
That's cool. So unfortunately, we don't have any of this game. It was streamed over Discord, but neither of us were able to watch it or record it. So we can't really give any insights to how the game went. All I can say is IMABUNNEH managed to pull out the win. He definitely said it was a close game between the 2 of them, so a bit of a meaty one. But yeah, that's all we have to say on it, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, on to the next one, I guess.
Yes, so the second game we're going to cover today is Kolat versus Khrytos, myself, in fact. This was another winners round game, and Kolat got first pick even. And
And who did he pick up first?
he picked up Corvus. His love. I remember how much he cheered when he got first player because he got to play Corvus. Definitely a strong first pick
That
for him.
really.
Yeah, yeah, he he was
He,
super happy. It was really funny.
well, understandable. He's
Yeah,
yeah,
I think because
super
in his
good.
previous game he didn't get to pick him up, but or maybe he did. No, I think he did as well. Yeah,
Mm.
guy lost Corvus. I can't complain, man. It's a great card. So definitely one I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, okay, here we go.
I think from discussions that we've had, we're rating Corvus pretty highly for first pick right now, amongst some others.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, definitely. And I decided to pick up Grandfather here. We were chatting about the game before. Um, I'm not sure if that was the right pick in retrospective, but I wanted to give it a go, and so yeah, I was feeling trying out Grandfather. What do you think about the Grandfather pick into Corvus?
I think it's decent, just because he's a 2 power guy, so it forces Kolat to want to try and take 3 power guys. But I guess taking him early in the draft means that you can try and draft around him. But at the same time, he is incredibly annoying to face. So I mean, I think it's a super good pick, and from what we've seen so far, Grandfather can be very strong.
Yeah, definitely. And like Kolat therefore like going into the ban, kind of respecting the power that Grandfather poses and going straight in with the Aurelia ban. You know, the constant power gain definitely makes Grandfather a bit more narratable, and the late Aurelia level definitely makes that team board very strong.
Yeah, and just having those devotions late game, just being able to clash a card that has 3 attack, 3 armor on it is super good.
Yeah, definitely. This is really nice. And then on my side, I'm banning Alan here. You know, Alan and Corvus have a fair amount of synergy there, and definitely something like something I've personally been quite scared of. Not faced it too many times, but when I have faced it, it's kind of just rolled me. So it's kind of like for me the currently the worst pairing with Corvus, but I'm not 100% sure that's correct. I might just be more scared than I need to be of that build.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, they just have really good synergy. I just don't think there's anyone that you would want to ban over Alan at this point.
Yeah, especially as
I
second
think that's a
player,
good ban,
right?
personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because as I'm second player here, you know, I cut off Alan and then I pick up Vigo for myself. Um, I was feeling pretty good about this, you know, definitely both on their own very good characters. And then it also reduces his chance to just get Vigo and you know, Storm Grandfather's towers really easy.
Yeah, it certainly makes his draft a little bit more difficult if he wants to aim for one of the more mid-rangey comps.
He picked up Viola here and then second up with Eos. So the Viola,
I haven't actually.
yeah,
Sorry, I haven't actually had the chance to ask you about this yet.
yeah.
But when he took Viola, what went through your mind? Were you like, okay, he's on Wrathlord, or were you like, what the hell?
100%. I was just like, he's on Wrathlord, right? Like, you know, back in expansion one, and the Cork tournament, like the Viola Wrathlord deck was just all the range, and I was just like, I knew it would be. I didn't expect anything else. And to be honest, I'll be happy with anything else, you know. So, and with the EOS pick here again, like we were saying in the previous match, right? Like two evokers, it's kind of a high indication of Wrathlord. So for me, it was pretty obvious. I do actually know that Kolat was picking up EOS here actually to get me off it, and not so much to like have that synergy with Corvus that we were discussing earlier. He was more like
Okay.
worried about me wanting to pick it up, kind of knowing that Wrathlord would be able to support the double evoker. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I suppose he's putting you into a little bit of an awkward spot because he's taken 2 evokers and banned 1 evoker, so it only leaves you with Bran and Iskander, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I think this was pretty well played by him through the draft phase here.
Mm.
And actually,
Oh,
like,
also Bridget.
yeah, Bridget as well. Yeah, one of the new heroes. We'll actually see her a bit later. Yeah, so actually this left me kind of taking a scander here. You know, my plan here was hoping and praying that the RNG Jesus would bring me the power card when I needed it, and I'd be able to ramp into Grandfather. That was unfortunately not the case. When it came a bit too late. But yeah, that was my plan here. You know, Iskander's kind of not seeing a lot of play outside of this expansion, and this expansion he has kind of people are trying him out again. Um, he's definitely kind of in a strange place. I think maybe the game's a little bit too fast for him in general, or he's a little bit too inconsistent.
Yeah, it's a tricky one just because evokers generally come with some very powerful cards and effects. So whilst he's a very good character, he's just competing in a very tight space. Um, and we've run this comp a few times, the Grandfather Vigo Iskander, and it can be very good. My only real concern with it is if they get the kill on Vigo, you really do run out of steam quite a bit. So I would have preferred to see Bran instead of Iskander here. I think just for a bit more sustain with the one heal every turn.
Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier in xSkeletalx's game, right? Like the brand has some synergy with Grandfather because of that card that I can't remember what it's called now.
Nature's Wrath.
Nature's Wrath. Yeah, thank you. And also, you know, back in the day, Brown was a nice counter pick into Corvus to kind of slow down the damage he was outputting with the heals that Bran brings. And I definitely, like, looking back on the game, I think that was a mistake here, and I should have picked up Bran. Right? Like, I would 100% agree with you. Yeah, the damage output, and the kind of on talent damage output that Colt actually brought to the game was just, it was too hard.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, for for the deities, we did see Colt pick up the Wrath Lord. And I myself took Storm Dragon, and we've talked about this a lot, but like, the nice thing about Storm Dragon is, even though you lose the 2 power tower, you do bring in like gain 5 power right at the end, and that means you only have to be sitting on 3 power or get 3 power very quickly to ensure that late game grandfather level up. That unfortunately didn't work out for me the way the game went, but yeah, that's like kind of the plan there, to make grandfather leveling a bit more inevitable.
Which is again another reason why this Aurelia ban was really strong, just because the prayer of mending that she provides, which heals for 4, is incredibly useful just to keep grandfather alive, so you can then actually get the Storm Dragon into play and then level him up. Obviously, if he's dead, you can't level him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Like, when you see it all like that, the Aurelia is definitely was a nice ban here. I think it was really solid draft from Colt here. Just like super good.
Yeah, completely agree.
And Kolat went in and banished Viola here, which was also expected on the thing. Like, Viola just not being that great on the board, as we've seen in most of the tournaments, and she's just a great target for the Wrath Lord. Kind of really just there to bring in a deck.
Yep. As we've seen in previous games, Daredevil was a very strong card with Wrathlord that basically allows him to attack and then ready for free. And usually you don't really care about taking the extra damage on Wrathlord, just because he's there to die and break his own shrines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so and he went on to win this game. We actually do have the placement to go through, so we can jump onto that next. So for this game, we have actually the placement order we can run through now. Sometimes it can be pretty interesting to see. So Kolat is placing first, um, and he's whacking Corvus down straight in the middle. Like, quite often, because he's obviously got Viola, and she's a target for banishing. We see people banish, like, place Viola first, so that you kind of like force your opponent to act with no information.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, the Corvus one is kind of like exerting dominance on the field. So I follow up with my grandfather mid. This is something we've kind of been chatting about a lot, and our current feeling was like, hey, yeah, throw grandfather mid. It allows you to move into grandfather's protection whenever possible, whenever you need. And was feeling like this as my strategy here, to kind of like maintain the middle of the board.
Having Grandfather mid is pretty decent, because whilst they can try and take the tower that Grandfather's in front of, he provides a good defense. And if they move off to one of the sides and take another tower over there, then they have to move all the way across the board in order to take your other tower. So it's also taxing their action economy quite well.
Yeah, definitely. Feeling that. And then he follows up with an EOS mid as well. And this is kind of a bit concerning for me, to be honest. Like, it looks like he's going to stack mid. I was definitely a little bit concerned, but going to stick to my own game plan here.
Mm.
What would you do in this situation?
In terms of your placement
Yeah,
next.
yeah. Or like, yeah, like, are you concerned by this, like, stacking mid?
Um, Potentially. I mean, I suppose there's two ways of going about it. Either option one is just to go off in one of the side lanes and do your own thing and try and take a tower. Or the other thing is to also stack mid, or at least put Vigo mid, in order to smash into Corvus and Eos, who are a little bit squishy, and try and get some kills there. And I suppose it also means that if he wants to attack into your tower as his first action, then he only has one extra action in order to stand one of his characters, which means that you can pretty much attack into somebody, and he's going to be forced to block with Wrathlord, I think.
Yeah, that's actually a good point that I definitely didn't consider there, right? Like, because he's stacking up mid, he's got no real good tower attacks that don't leave him very vulnerable. So like, yeah, Vigo mid is definitely looks like a fairly good choice. I didn't make that choice. I was kind of running with your first line of play, you know, like, okay, so he's going mid. I'm going to be like working on my towers. Bit of a 50-50 with Raflord, which is not also super nice because he is stacked mid. You know, I don't know. He wants me to pop one of his towers, and I don't know which one it is, so I can't really make an informed decision there. So, kind of just rolling the dice whether I go left or right, and hit into whichever tower he wants pop first. So,
Yeah.
not ideal. He follows up with the Viola on the left, which basically means nothing. So you know, it doesn't give any information there. He has like free reign to place Wrath Lord wherever he wants, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I suppose theoretically he could get rid of Eos, for example, and then Viola is there, but as we discussed before, it's pretty unlikely.
yeah, and with me having grandfather, I think the free attack from Eos is just way better, right? Like then Eos and Wrath Lord can attack into towers at least early
Yeah.
game. I think keeping Viola here would definitely be the mistake. Just mainly because of the attack.
One other thing that
Yeah.
so one other play that I often like to make with Viola is if you as the opposing player pretty much know that he's on Wrathlord already, then placing Viola first is quite good, because you can place her off to one side, and then that gives your opponent the choice to either stack up there, in which case when they banish Viola, the Wrathlord's probably going to come down in the same position, or you can put it on one of the sides again, and then try and force your opponent to go the other side. So that's another way where you can kind of not really trick your opponent into going the side that you want, i.e., to break the tower that you want to be broken first. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously they still have full flexibility to do whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely kind of on with that plan, that play as well, right? Like just yeah, Viola in one of the side lanes, and then kind of like psych them out into going whichever way.
Mm.
It's definitely a strong option. And then so we actually see he banished Viola and dumped Wrathlord in the mid lane, so like fully stacked mid here.
Yeah, I think that's expected at that point because he needs the six attack in order to get through grandfather's armor that he's providing to the shrines. So his best play here is just to attack the center shrine with Eos and Wrathlord, really.
Yeah. And I actually have the layout of the conduits here as well to like just finish this off. So for Kolat, we see he puts the Wrathlord Ready Tower on the left, which is the one I'm going to be attacking into, and the one he wanted me to hit. So I lost the 50-50 there. He's put his attack tower in the middle, just kind of relying on it late game, I guess, or concerned that maybe I break through and he chooses not to defend. And
Mm.
then he has his armor tower on the side, kind of undefended as well. Uh, it's actually kind of that ongoing conversation in the community, right? Like which of the Wrathlord towers do you want to pop first? And it's either like Boundless Rage or Implacable Hatred. And yeah, I think everyone just kind of runs whatever they prefer, right?
Yeah, which is still interesting though, because at that point you would think you would have the hatred on one side and the boundless rage on the other side, and you would just put the grim purpose in the middle, because then at least there's a better chance of your opponent hitting into one of those, let's say, more key conduits. Um, just because getting a free ready from the start of the game is amazing. It's a free action every round, and the two attack allows you then to take conduits with just Wrathlord.
Yeah, definitely. I guess in first grandfather it was just less important, right? Because if he's standing, it's like 6 attack to break a tower, so maybe he was just like not super worried about that and valued
Yeah,
that more.
that makes a lot of sense.
It's hard to know, right? And then from my side, kind of a fairly standard Storm Dragon placement, right? Like Nature's Bounty in the middle. We see this quite a lot from a lot of different players. And then yeah, like kind of random on the Smite Ancient Wisdom on the side.
Mm.
Nothing really to say there. So now we're going to jump into the game at a certain point of it where I felt there was something interesting worth chatting about, and we can discuss that. See, so we're a couple of turns in now. I guess turn 4 or 5. I can't actually remember exactly, and basically, Kolat has been smashing mid. I've been defending with Grandfather, and in the end, Grandfather died for his things, and I have my turn where I've popped Implacable Hatred, and both my Vigor and a Scanner are quite damaged now. Moving Vigor mid and dropping a Stasis on. So right now I'm trying to decide, hey, I want to bring back Grandfather. Which tower do I pop to bring back Grandfather, and then where do I put him? And then this is kind of where we join the game.
Yeah.
So I actually decide,
So you go for the smite.
yeah, to take the smite on the right. I thought about this decision for a really long time, and I'm pretty convinced now that this was a mistake. I then obviously like place Grandfather mid. So from my side here, like, the second I did this, I was like, man, this was a mistake. So the problem I see here from my point of view is like he's stacked mid, right? Like mid is where he can put pressure on for basically free. He has an implacable Patriot to stand Wrathlord every turn, and it's just going to keep like smashing my tower. And by popping a tower off to the side, I've just basically said, hey, you don't need to go there anymore. And by stacking up mid again, I'm like, you can just keep sitting here and keep smashing me.
Yeah, which isn't ideal because I suppose, as we mentioned at the start, one of the benefits of Grandfather is defending that tower and then forcing your opponents to move off to the sides. Whereas now they don't even need to go over there. So had they needed to have gone to the right-hand side and then got all the way over to the left-hand side to break your last tower, it does tax them a lot more. But then I guess he doesn't need to attack your tower. He could just sit there and keep smashing you.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern. I feel like looking back on this game, it's definitely the moment where I just kind of played into his game plan a little bit too much, right? Like up until now, nothing really had happened. Yeah, apart obviously he's level Corvus already, which is super scary. But the Grandfather had kind of done his job. I took like 5 damage in the first attack that I defended on that tower, and then from that point on, I was like, okay, Grandfather needs to just defend this tower until he dies, and 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 at that point, then because you want the hill basically, right? If the tower's gonna die anyway, you wanna just like, hey, actually, I'll trade Grandfather for the tower later, right? And then pop it.
Yeah.
So I think the play here should have been to pop the middle tower and place Grandfather either left or right, probably on the left. Um, but yeah, mainly because I don't want to stack up, and I don't want him to stack up in the lane I want to take the tower from. I want to push him off to a side where he doesn't need to, where there's nothing to defend, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because then he has the choice of either moving off in order to try and take one of your towers, or he just sits there and has to keep defending against what you're doing. Yeah, I do like that play.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like as we can watch this game a little bit on, but I put Smite on I believe on the Wrathlord in the end, and he ends up healing it literally in the next turn with a well placed drain life, and yeah, it was definitely like not super fun. And then basically what we see from this point on, we're not going to look at this, but he just continues to like pressure me mid with like really good action economy that I can't really keep up with, and I have to kind of run around the houses taking more damage on Vigo smashing into towers while Corvus is just kind of like burning my board.
Yeah. Yeah, so just going back to that draft at the beginning where we were discussing maybe Bran instead of Iskander, I mean, Corvus would have still been killing two of your guys, but at least one of them would have been getting one heal every turn. I mean, probably Vigo in this case, so you can then stomp around and take his towers with that 5 attack you've now got.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, we can jump to a little bit later. And so now, like we pick up the action quite a couple of turns later, and I'm still holding on to that mid tower.
Hmm.
Stacked up some damage on Grandfather to defend it now. Vigo went off and smashed like both towers, in fact. You know, tower on the right, tower on the mid. So you know, Wrathlord's kind of in his end game. Um, you know, and his characters are all stacked up some damage. I've already lost a scanner at this point, but you know, I've got a leveled Vigo, so I'm feeling, to be honest, right up until this moment, I was feeling pretty good about myself. You know, I felt like I'd kind of pushed the game forward, but you know, now it's kind of a little bit scary. Vigo has 2 HP left. You know, Grandfather's sitting on 3. It's kind of a little bit scary. So I think on this turn I take the tower and I have 1 action left, and I'm kind of trying to decide what I do with my last action. And I was contemplating attacking and leaving Vigo tapped. Now he hasn't played a Horrify all game. He also hasn't played a Daredevil at this point, and basically the thing I'm super worried about now is the chance of Horrify, and taking the tower, or like Daredevil, Horrify Daredevil into the tower, and
Yeah.
basically losing the tower, possibly losing my people, um, and yeah, it's not super good. Um, So I decided not to attack it, even though Vigor was dying. So I feel like, you know, there's an argument for saying I should have attacked, because, you know, the chances of him having those cards is quite high, and I could have like killed one of his guys or stacked some damage on Wrathlord, which would be relevant because he can't heal anymore outside of like drain life. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I do kind of agree with you there. I think at that point you have to kind of go for it, because if you attack into Eos or Corvus, they've both got 2 health, sorry, 2 damage on them. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah,
Yeah. So at that point you could attack in and cleave, for example, which would be pretty nice. And even if he defends with a 3 armor card on one of those, they'll die. And as you said, if he chooses to block with Wrathlord, well, then he's just getting himself near to losing the game, because he doesn't really have that many ways to heal Wrathlord outside of Drain Life.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. And you know, I don't really, not too bothered if Figo dies here. You know, it's like he's gonna die anyway. Like Corvus is gonna kill him at the end of my turn, whatever happens. So like getting that last bit of value out of that health, you know, it's not gonna change anything. And I definitely think that I should have done that. So we see he does have the Horrify, and he plays it on Vigo, and then he swings in for the tower. And then this, I think, is another misplay that I make here, right? Like, Grandfather has 5 damage on him, right? Like, but Grandfather is alive right now, you know, and he's
Mm.
not going to die to Corvus at the end of this turn. Um, and I think, like, I mean, maybe it doesn't matter, but he played 1 action to Horrify. So that means the second action's attacking, right? If he has Daredevil and I defend, he gets to stand for free and attack the tower anyway, right? So I'm going to lose the tower no
Yeah.
matter what. But if he just attacks the tower here, he then like has no free ready, so he can't attack Grandfather. So if Grandfather, so even if I lose the tower, you know, Grandfather's still on the board. You know, there's some possibility for some other plays. Um,
Yeah. Well, I suppose if he takes the tower, your deity's coming in anyway, and you've got 1 power, so that takes you to 6 on your turn. On your following turn, you get to 7. I mean, it's still a slightly too slow. I mean, I guess if you
it's
were 1
probably just
power
too
up,
slow, right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean the one thing is like on my turn I did have the Iskander's power card at that point, so it's something I could have done as well and just powered up. Unfortunately, I decided to defend here. Maybe this is still not the bad play, but it basically results in Grandfather dying. So you know he's gonna clash here. Um, yeah, he is clashing the Daredevil. I'm like, I just yeah.
yeah, I guess you knew deep in your heart your fate.
Yeah, it was. So I think I end up not clashing anything, and then you just have to ask yourself like, why did you even defend this, right? Like you just killed Grandfather for nothing.
Yeah.
The tower's gonna die anyway. I mean, maybe he doesn't have it, but I just feel like he had to have it, right?
Well, I suppose just going back to the conversation we were having earlier about maybe instead of putting Vigo off to the side in the placement, putting him in the middle and crashing into Corvus and Eos, at the very least it would have got some cards out his hand, and maybe he would have felt inclined, or maybe he wouldn't have had a choice but to clash with the Horrify or something like that to get some armor.
Yeah, definitely. Like I kind of let its cards get a bit too much value by that. Like you've got to play them all for talents. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then yeah, we unfortunately we see the nature's bounty, you know, forcing me to manifest, and it kind of like spells the end of the game here. Unfortunately, Vigo dies. I only have one more revive left, right? I have no way to increase my buyback. I'm not gonna have any problems getting my buyback because I do have Storm Dragon, and then I actually think I spend this whole turn, yeah, Arcane Evocation. Um, and so I think I end up on 11 power, and unfortunately 11 power is just a little bit too short, because if I had brought grandfather back for 5, I would be left with 6 power, and then I had no evoker, so I wouldn't even be able to get to 7 or 8 to level grandfather. So it kind of forced
Yeah.
me to kind of bring back Vigo, you know, and that's again why I just think like leaving grandfather alive just for 1 or 2 more turns would have just been way better here.
Yeah,
Especially
I'm not
replacing.
going to disagree.
Yeah. So yeah, from this point, Colt kind of just goes in for a pretty decisive victory. I try use Chronostorm to close out the game, but I just run out of gas, and he's able to kind of basically survive with his board as is. It was a pretty unfortunate. Great
Yeah,
game
it's
from me.
certainly a tricky one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, very well played.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to look back though and kind of see what we could have done differently. So that concludes today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you're interested in seeing this type of content, or you have ideas for other types of content you would like to see, please leave us a comment in the video below.